Our next speaker is going to be Eric Gonzalez with 101 Lint Busters. Eric.
All right. How's everybody doing?
Great.
Awesome. Well, my name is Eric. I am the owner of 101 Lint Busters. And today I'm going to try to educate you guys why it's so important to have your dryer and your dryer vent cleaned yearly. So the manufacturer of the machines recommend that you have your ventilation pipe inspected and cleaned by a professional. If this is something that you can do yourself, whether it's highly encouraged that you do it yearly or as regular as needed. Why it's so important is because in these pipes, you can collect lint that will choke out your machine and won't allow it to breathe, so it won't dry correctly. The biggest risk here is that so much lint will collect in the pipe that one, the machine can either have a mechanical failure, which means that you're going to have to fix it, spend money on it. The other is that it's going to collect so much in there that it has the potential to start a fire. All your fires are going to start inside of your machine. So if you have a problem with your ventilation pipe, you can be sure you're going to have a problem with your machine as well. One of the things that I come across a lot is homeowners that have no idea this needs to be done. I get at least 90% of my clients, they say the same thing. Well, it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years, it's been 20 years, and we've never had to do it. I don't understand why we have to do it now. Well, you've been lucky for those 5, 10, 15, 20 years. You've been extremely lucky that nothing has happened. The awesome thing nowadays is that the machines have a lot of sensors. So a lot of my clients, when they're coming to me, is because they have had to buy a new machine, and now the new machine's not working right. I actually had a lady who replaced her machine 3 times before somebody said, hey, you may want to have that vent checked. She thought it was the machine. She kept taking it back to Lowe's. Lowe's said, we're done. We're not replacing your machine anymore. There's no way that 3 machines are bad. So when we showed up, sure enough, her vent was full of lint. And she said, I don't understand. We've been here in this house for 20 plus years and we've never had an issue. So again, the new machines are awesome because they do have a lot of sensors. They have a lot of gadgets that'll help keep you safe. The older machines, which is keep working, they didn't have a lot of the sensors that new machines have nowadays. So again, if you have an issue with your dryer, 3 things that you need to look out for. 1, are you adding more time to each load? 2, is the machine itself getting really hot? So when the machine's running, if you put your hand in the middle and it's warm, that's okay, because that's the spot that's closest to the drum. But if you touch the sides of the machine, the corners, or where the panel is, and that is really hot, that's an issue. If the room feels hot, that's an issue. If your room feels, and I'm talking about your laundry room, if your laundry room feels really humid, that's an issue. Or if you have to constantly wipe down your machines because they're full of lint, that's definitely a big issue. A lot of the times what that means is that the machine, the ventilation pipe is clogged and the machine has nowhere to put that stuff out. So now it starts to seep out into that room, or it starts to collect inside of the machine where your igniter, your gas valve, your lint blower, your sensories, all your wires are. And the only way to clean it out is by taking your machine apart. So if you think, well, I clean my lint filter regularly and that should do it, that unfortunately that doesn't. You have to also pull out your lint filter and clean that canister where the lint filter goes, because that gets full of lint as well. If you're having trouble, if you ever notice that your lint filter doesn't fit correctly, that's because you have a lot of lint build up in there. That doesn't allow the lint filter to set in correctly, and it leaves a gap. That little gap is horrible because 1, your clothes will get caught on it and it'll rip. 2, it allows more lint to travel through the pipe. These are all little indicators that there's something wrong. The other big indicator is that if you haven't cleaned it within the last year, you're probably overdue. Again, that's something that the manufacturer recommends because what you're trying to avoid is that lint buildup inside of the machine. If you don't know where your ventilation pipe exits the house, it's probably a good idea to look around to see if it exits on the rooftop or if it exits on the side of the house, and if it's exiting down low or up high. If it's on the rooftop, there's not much you can do other than just look at it, because you can't get up there unless you climb a ladder, and it's very dangerous. If it's on the side of the house, you can see how your hood is set, and if it's working properly. Every hood should have a lid that opens and closes. If it has screens on it, that's an issue. And this is why. This is one that I took off the other day. I don't know if you guys can see that, but this is a screen that came with the hood that was installed, but the owner never cleaned it. This is months of use after this hood was installed, and then they started having problems with their machine. These are great to keep critters out, but they're horrible to let lint out. So what I normally suggest is that if you don't have a lid that opens and closes, just replace the hood. Get something that has a lid that opens and closes, and don't put screens on it. If you live in an association, you may want to talk to the maintenance guys or the association itself, because sometimes they'll have pest control come through, and they love putting screens on hoods. If they do such a thing, especially on the rooftop, it is impossible to get those things off or cleaned unless you climb on the roof and take it out. See what else? One of the things to look for is on the outside, if it's down low, you want to make sure that it's above ground. If it's low to the, if it's within a couple of inches from the ground, you run the risk of having poor airflow. You also have the risk of having critters that can easily climb in there. Or if it's in a spot on your house where you get a lot of water buildup, you get water that'll build up in there and clog your vent. If it's up high, if it's on the side of the house and you don't have a lid that opens and closes, and it's just open, right, with nothing to protect, you'll get birds that'll build nests up there. I think I have the record for bird's nest and eggs in the county. And they love it. They absolutely love it because it's nice and warm in there. It's perfect condition for their eggs. So you want to make sure that you see the lid open and close. Every time your dryer's on, it should be wide open. When it's off, it should be all the way closed. If it's not, it's something that you should look into getting fixed or repaired. If by any chance you have a setup where your ventilation pipe runs underground or underneath a raised foundation, and it's a flexible hose, I would highly recommend to replace it. Flexible hoses underneath the house cannot be cleaned because the force of the tools rip it apart, and then you'll have all that material just building up underneath your house, and that's a fire hazard. You want to make sure that you have a solid pipe that's at least 4 inches in diameter and no more than 490s per run. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it, unless you guys have any questions. Yes.
You want to talk about the electrical outlets and the lint buildup behind?
So if you, again, it's important to always check behind the machine to make sure that you have no seepage back there, that your hose is not disconnected, because you will collect a lot of lint back there. And thank you for pointing that out. The machines themselves have these little openings in the back that allows them to breathe. So if you have a broken line in the back that's allowing lint to seep out, the machine's gonna suck it right back in to where the guts are, the igniter, the gas blower. The other thing is the outlets. The outlets will get full of lint, and that can be a fire hazard. If you have an extension cord back there, because you have a lot of stuff plugged in, you may want to change that setup, and you want to have only your washer and your dryer plugged in, and you want to make sure that that area is lint free. Again, you should never have any type of lint in or around the machines, especially in the back. I would say it's probably a good idea to at least every 6 months, pull the machines out, give it a thorough cleaning, check your hoses, and then push them back in. Another question, sir?
So I had an interesting one where we did have the machine stopped running, and we looked back there and a frog had gotten up the vent and it jammed itself. It was wrong with the spirit man, but, my question is, what's an average range that someone would typical, would expect to pay for your service to come out once a year?
That's, well, for us, you're looking at $199 for our service. That's if we're just doing the basic clean out of your ventilation pipe. Yeah, it is cheap insurance. The one thing that I've seen a lot is companies that are popping out like crazy. And they're charging $69, $89 to come out and clean your dryer. Problem with that is, one, they probably don't have the experience. Two, that price is gonna change dramatically once they're in your house. I get a lot of calls like that from customers who are hiring these companies from the valley that come down this way because of the price. The price is ideal. Who doesn't want to get something done for $69? Yeah, but as soon as they're in your house, I literally had a customer tell me that it went from $69 to almost $800. That's a lot of money. So the range should be between 165 to no more than 250 just for the basic cleanout. From there, it just depends on what your setup is like and what exactly needs to get done. But if it's just a basic clean out, that's pretty much the range. Yeah. You got a question, sir?
So does it depend on how long the pipe is for the price? Like if
No,
it's 12
so,
feet?
well,
or-
for us, it's a flat fee. There are companies out there that charge by the foot. They'll charge you a flat rate for the first 10 feet. And then it's whatever they charge for every additional foot after that. I've heard of some companies charging, depending on how much lint comes out. I've literally had houses that had, 3 trash bags. So yeah, I don't know if they charge by the ball or by the pound or by the ounce. But that's not really what they do. Any other questions?
What's your website and contact information for people who are watching?
Gotcha. So you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Yelp, you can find us on Instagram, Google, and it's all the same, 101 Lint Busters. There's a ton of videos on Facebook from cleanups that we've done. I think the craziest cleanout I've had was I pulled out a root that grew into the pipe, seizing up the motor just like that frog did. And it was about 21 feet long. I'm pretty sure I have the video in there somewhere. The other is I pulled out like 23 gallons out of a vent. And that's another thing. If you don't clean your vent regularly and you're doing a lot of laundry, if you're like us, we do about 15 to 20 loads a week. My wife is constantly running the machine just because we have a lot of people in our family. For 2 adults, 4 kids, we create a mess. When the ventilation pipe gets full of lint, the lint acts like a sponge and it'll absorb that water. Then that lint gets heavy and it just sits there. It doesn't go anywhere. And it'll start eating away at your pipe. I literally had a customer who was doing a remodel in Camarillo and noticed that their light in the restroom started to leak water. They thought it was a broken line, water line. When they popped the ceiling open, it wasn't. It was the dryer line that had a lot of water and a lot of lint, and it started to seep down into the light and into her bathroom. I would say that if you haven't done it within the last year or so, highly recommend to get somebody out there, whether it's us or someone else, to at least take a look at it. Normally when we come in, we look at the whole setup. We look at where it comes out, how that hood is working. We clean the line out. We look behind the machine to make sure that the flexible, that silver flexible hose, it's not crushed, it's not ripped. You don't have a mess back there. And then we look at the machine itself to make sure that the machine doesn't have a lot of lint to build up in there. And that's something that we do every time we come out, because laundry habits change. If you buy towels, that's gonna create a lot of lint the first time you wash them. If you put the wrong material in the dryer, and I don't know what it's called, but it comes on your throw rugs. It's this little plasticky stuff on the bottom. I literally have customers call me saying, "Oh my God, there was an explosion of the stuff in the vent." And I go in and it's just caked. The drum is caked, the lint filter is caked, the line is caked with the stuff. So you got to be very careful what you dry in your washer and in your dryer. Another piece of advice that I would say it's important is how much detergent you actually use. If you use a lot of detergent and your washer doesn't rinse it off correctly, it will transfer over to your dryer and your clothes. Your dryer will then dry it up, becomes powder, and then it gets taken down the line. Because you have humidity that builds up in that line, now that powder cakes the walls. And every time you dry, it collects more lint than it should because it's sticky. It's soap, it sticks. So just be careful how much detergent you use or dryer sheets that you use. Any other questions? Good.
Great.
All right. Yeah.
So I just want to say I can vouch for Eric and 101 Lint Busters because he came and cleaned our vents and taught us all this great information. And not to mention, he has 5-star reviews. So thank you, Eric.